Motor, J Motor, J Motor, J Motor, recognize Heckler House, Heckler House. Oh, 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 oh.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Only thing I saw big going on in the news was, a few people were talking about the whole Lauren Bobbitt situation. I could fucking really care less. I mean, she went out and acted like a fucking teenager instead of an adult. She didn't commit a crime, so who cares? The media is being, dumb about it. The other thing is some people are going on, oh, Trump's supporting abortion, blah, 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 blah. Well, no, he's actually not. If you actually watch the entire interview that he had just recently, he's talking about, how they're going to deal with the abortion. Not that that's what they're actually going to do or anything like that. And he's one of the biggest pro-life supporters as far as presidents have ever been. So, people going, oh, I'm not sure if I would vote for Trump now. Well, you ain't got no one else who's going to save our ass except for Trump. Regardless if you like him or not, his policies are good, and they will save our ass. So, enough with that dumbass shit. Alright, moving on. Let's get to what I really want to talk about this week. I'm always watching several different shows and going through all the seasons. Like, I'll let you know right now, I'm working on the X-Files. I've got one more season of the X-Files to get through. I'm working on the third season of Stargirl. Yeah, I know, it's CW, and they're... You'll see. I'll give you a review on it soon. It just... I get it, trust me. I still got some Walking Dead to watch. I put that off for a little bit. I'll have to get back to watching it, finishing it up. There's so many spin-offs of that show. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, I got those to watch. But, I'm working on a few different ones. I just got done watching the television show called Eureka, which was like 2006 to 2012 or something like that. Somewhere in between there. And it debuted on the Sci-Fi channel. Of course, it's Canadian because, the Canadians bought the Sci-Fi channel. That's why you got so many cheesy programs on there. When it first came out, the channel was awesome. The Sci-Fi channel was absolutely great when it first came out. But then the Canadians bought the damn thing, and they started putting all this cheesy ass shit on there. Some of the shows were okay, but others were just Anyways, this one wasn't one of them. This is called Eureka, and it was kind of a comedy, but also sci-fi. The story is, you have this U.S. Marshal, and he enters in this town chasing a fugitive, looking for a fugitive, I think. No, maybe not. I think he was after his daughter. His daughter ran away from her mother, and he had to track her down or some shit. And now he was taking her back home, and he just happened to take a shortcut, or what he thought was a shortcut, and he's going through. He runs into this town called Eureka, which is cloaked, by the way. He didn't realize it. It's cloaked, by the way. He gets ran off the road in the rain, and they kind of help him out, the town, trying to get back on the road and blah, blah, blah. But he's got to stay a few days, and he meets a lot of people in Eureka, and he doesn't know what's going on. Him and his daughter, neither one knows what's going on. He puts his daughter behind bars, kind of like teach her a lesson at the local jail or sheriff's station. But while he's there, he helps them find some kid or something that seems to be lost, and with his skills as a U.S. Marshal, he helps them find this kid. And there is some kind of crisis happens, and he helps them out with that too. And they end up, the local sheriff, he kind of asks him to be the new sheriff because he leaves or some shit, and he leaves the town and suggests that he become the new sheriff. And the head of this company called GD, Global Dynamics or something like that, suggests him to the DOD, Department of Defense, and then he ends up getting the job. Zoe, his daughter, ends up staying with him after he has like this talk with her mother. She ends up staying in town with him. Well, they end up getting a house, but the house is basically a computer, a high-tech computer that one of the scientists, a goofy dude named Fargo, built as a test run. So he gives it to him, to test it out to see if, it works the way it's supposed to work, with its residents. And the computer's name is Sarah, or the house. And then you meet Lubo, which is his deputy, which is like this beautiful, Spanish girl or whatever. She's, the deputy, but she's taking on a more masculine role, which is kind of dumb. I get where they were trying to go with it, but it shouldn't have been a woman. Later on, he gets an android to become his partner, and instead she ends up as security chief of Global Dynamics. Fargo becomes the director, and just it gets a little crazy. But the show's it's hilarious. It is funny as fuck for the first few seasons. I mean, it's really good. I liked it a lot. Colin Ferguson does a great job. That's the main character, the one that plays the sheriff. And he gets into all kinds of trouble and shit because these scientists come up with some crazy ass inventions and experiments, and he has to deal with them all the time. Now, I can't remember if it was the third season, midway through the third season, or it was the fourth season, but they switched the story around. They end up somehow going back in time and kind of changing history a little bit. They end up bringing a founder of the town with them to the future. and he ends up staying in the future instead of going back to his own time. And he had the chance to do it, but he refused not to. Now, there is a secret organization that is against them, the town of Eureka, and wants to steal all their scientists and shit like that. You have to deal with that for the next 2 seasons. There was always a conspiracy, a group that was against them, but it became more prominent after they go back into time and explains who started it. There's a woman who, at first, she claims she's like some psychiatrist, but later on turns out to be one of the bad guys. She's the daughter of the guy who's built the other company or whatever, the evil company that's trying to steal their tech. And then you also have, I think it, again, maybe it's the beginning of the 3rd season or something. You had this guy named Stark. He was the director at the beginning. And I actually kind of, he was a dick, but I actually kind of liked this character, you know. But he ends up dying saving the town. And like I said, they switched everything when they did the going back in time shit to the 1940s or whatever. Everybody had things switched on them. Like they came back. Allison's daughter or son had autism. Now he doesn't have autism. She has a daughter now, and then you know, there's this other guy named Zane, which is a troublemaker. Him and Lupo, the deputy, was supposed to get married, and in that switch, he doesn't even know that they, you know, she exists, and they're not even in a relationship anymore. It gets all screwed up. The one guy named Henry is his best friend, the sheriff's best friend. They all rely on him all the time to fix shit. But anyway, he ends up being married to a woman he doesn't even know. It gets all crazy and shit when after they go back in time for the last 2 seasons. It's crazy. And I thought they actually had a good storyline, and then they screwed it all up. Like Henry, the first couple of seasons, Henry loses his girlfriend, who eventually becomes his wife. He loses her to like this accident, and he tries to fix it. I can't remember exactly how he does. Somehow he goes back in time. He creates some time device to go back in time, but Colin Ferguson's character Jack, the sheriff, he stops him from screwing up the timeline. So they messed with time a couple of times before they even got to the 1940s thing, but instead they went with the 1940s thing, and it just went all crazy. They still had a couple of good episodes during the last 2 seasons. It just, most of it wasn't all that great. I liked the first 3 seasons, which was really good and funny, because they were constantly giving each other shit on the show. The characters were constantly messing with each other. It was funny. Anyways, definitely check it out. It's worth a one-time watch. You know, it's a pretty good show. Just, you know that the last couple of seasons aren't all that great. They're okay. It's still a decent show. It just wasn't as good as when they first started. So check it out. I give it 2 thumbs up. You won't be disappointed. Let's move on to your B-movie reviews. What's up, movieaholics? Let's get on to your B-movie reviews. And this week is Fantasy Week. Now, I chose a couple of cartoons to watch this round. Like, if you've been watching the channel, you know I'm not a big fan of cartoons. Yes, I loved them when I was a kid, when I was a teenager even. But eventually I just got tired of watching them. Even Disney cartoons, I just got sick of watching them. Because they just seem to get worse and worse as time went on. I don't bother watching any Disney crap anymore. They just all suck. But there are a few cartoons that aren't all that bad. And I don't mind watching a cartoon every now and then. I'm just like I said, it's not like my go-to type of movie or whatever, or show, you know. Just, I normally don't watch cartoons. Every once in a while I'll watch one. I just, you know, I was thinking of some fantasies and I was like, you know what, I haven't done like, you know, an animation in a long time, so I figured, fuck it, I'll just do some animation movies. Now, even though both these movies was kind of involved with Disney, one really wasn't a Disney production. The other one was. And there was a feud over it because the first one I'm going to go over with you, they came out with their idea and started working on their movie first. And then Pixar, the first one was done by DreamWorks. The second one's done by Pixar. And they did a very similar movie and idea concept to the first one. So there was a big feud amongst the two and trying to get Disney to take sides. And Disney didn't want to take sides, but they eventually did. They went with the second group, which did way better than the first movie, box office wise. But the first movie was actually better than the later movie, even though it did better. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is called Antz. And it was done by DreamWorks, 1998. And it did about 171 mil across worldwide, which isn't bad. It was decent. Now this had a whole slew of stars for voice actors, but the main ones, you know, the male and the female, was Woody Allen and Sharon Stone. They played the main characters. In this one, the main character named Z, he's tired of the daily grind of being a worker ant. And he doesn't want to be a worker anymore. He wants to go do stuff, do other things. while he's contemplating this and complaining about it, the princess, which is Sharon Stone, it's a character, she sneaks off from the palace to go and associate with the worker class in like one of their bars. There's supposedly a bar. He meets her there. She doesn't tell him who she is at first, but before she ends up leaving, he finds out who she is. So now he's all in love with her. Blah 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 blah. So he tries to figure out a way to see her again. So what he does is he asks Sylvester Stallone's character, who's a soldier ant, he asks him to switch places with him because there's some parade or event or whatever where the soldiers are going to meet the royals and he wants to be there. So he switches with them. What ends up happening is he doesn't actually meet the royals. He gets sent off to war. Because apparently this crazy-ass general, played by Gene Hackman, wants to go to war with the termites. So he ends up going to war. He's the only one who comes back. The only one to come back. Everybody else was wiped out, including all the termites. So he comes back, and he's praised as a hero. He goes to meet the royals. Well, the general turns on him, wants him killed, and he kidnaps the princess. Well, when he was in the bar earlier in the film, he met this ant that told him that there's an insectopia and how to get there. So instead of going back, they fall down some garbage chute or some shit. They end up way outside of the anthill, outside, and something happens where they have to run away. Something's chasing them or some shit. Oh, a magnifying glass. There's some boy with a magnifying glass. And they run away from it, and then they decide to head to Insectopia. The whole time the princess is bitching and complaining. Now she doesn't like him all of a sudden because she finds out he's actually just a worker ant. Blah blah blah. She's supposed to marry the general, but she absolutely hates the general. But she'd rather go back to the general than deal with, Z, who actually likes her. So which she actually likes too, but she's pissed off because he kidnapped her from, her lifestyle, her rich lifestyle, money, which is a typical woman thing. So, she's pissed off, but she decides to go to Insectopia with him anyway. So meanwhile, the general has Cutter, played by Christopher Walken, searching for them, the princess, to bring her back, because he's devised a plan to wipe out most of the colony except for the soldiers, and he needs the queen to create a new colony. He's going to get rid of all the workers and everybody else. The only ones he wants to keep is the princess and the soldiers. Now he's doing this by having the workers dig a tunnel underneath. It's like a little pool or whatever, water up on the surface that they call a lake, but it's not. It's just like a rain ditch or pool of water, it's like a little ditch or whatever. But anyways, that's his devious plan, and nobody really knows about it except for a couple of the soldiers, including Cutter. Cutter does eventually find the princess and takes her back with him. Z finds out and chases after him. After they just found Insectopia. None of the other ants believed it existed, but the general knew it existed, and he told Cutter exactly where it was at, where they could find him. They beat the crap out of Stallone's character, the soldier, to get him to tell him that he probably went to Insectopia. Anyways, they're getting ready to drown everybody out when Z shows up. They're claiming it's a new tunnel for the colony that's going to lead them to all kinds of wealth, blah, blah, blah. But it's all a lie. So the soldiers block all the passages and leave the workers in the main chamber, where the tunnel is going to open up the water, and it's going to flood them out and kill them all. But it doesn't work that way. When Z shows up just before they open up the tunnel, he helps the princess escape her bonds, her room that they locked her up in, and they go help all the people, all the working ants. The tunnel ends up being busted open, and the water comes in. There's a mound in the middle of the main chamber. They all climb on it, and then they create this ladder or whatever, a bunch of ants, to get to the top and bust open the top. Cutter and the general get into it. Cutter turns on him and tells him, no, that's not how you're supposed to protect them, blah, blah, blah. That's your job. I'm no longer following you. And he knocks him on his ass, and then Cutter gets the other soldiers riled up, and they go and help all the ants up to the top of the surface. He knocks Z down in there. He goes down in there to grab Z out of the water. And it all ends well. The general gets banished or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the colony rebuilds. Yeah, it's Cutter as the new general. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. You know, the princess and Z get together, and that's it. You're done. That's the movie. It was okay. It wasn't bad. I liked it. I thought it was okay for what it was. For a cartoon. It had a lot of stars in it for voice actors. And it was a decent story. I liked it. 2 thumbs up. Check it out if you want. Not a bad cartoon. The next one is, of course, the Pixar's movie A Bug's Life. It was also done in 1998, but it did really well. It did $363 million. That's because Disney backed it at that time, instead of backing the other movie done by DreamWorks, which actually came out before the other one. But they backed The Bug's Life because they figured more parents would take their kids to see this one than they would Antz. Because A Bug's Life was more, you know, it had a variety of bugs, not just ants in it. And it was more based on, you know, like, if you ever heard the movie called The Dirty Dozen, where, you know, the small town villager boy, he goes out and he looks for mercenaries to help protect the village from, you know, a ruthless gang of outlaws. That's the story plot, literally, for A Bug's Life. And it's been done multiple times in multiple movies. Yeah, it's just called something different. And The setting's a little bit different, but it's basically the same concept. This movie does the same thing. Bug's Life is about, well, it starred David Foley as Flick, which is the main character, the ant, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which is the princess in this one. She voices the princess. Basically, there's a group of grasshoppers who are terrorizing these ants and making them gather food for them every year. Flick's had enough, and he's kind of a goofball. He's constantly coming up with these inventions that don't seem to work too well, apparently. And he causes problems in the colony all the time. Everybody knows who he is, even the royal family. He messes up quite a bit. Anyways, there's two princesses, Julia Dreyfus, and then there's another one, the little tiny one, who's called Dot. She's the smaller girl or princess or whatever. She constantly follows him around and adores him because he's weird. She thinks he's weird and strange but funny. Anyways, he ends up, they all gather their food for the grasshoppers, and he ends up screwing it up. The grasshoppers tell him, you know, I'm going to give you another chance. You got until the end of the season, and you need to double the rations. If you don't, we're going to come here and we're going to kill all of you. Got kind of thing, you know. So he concocts this idea that they should go find some warrior bugs to defend them against the grasshoppers. They all think, the council all think, this includes the princess, they all think, oh, this is a great idea. He'll be out of our hair and out of the way, and we can get shit done. So they send him off on his merry little way. Well, he ends up finding a group of bugs in what they call the city, which is basically like a garbage place. You know, it's a garbage can, you know, full of bugs or whatever. They call it the city. The ants do. Anyways, he gets there and he finds this group that's basically circus bugs. They're circus performers. And he gets them. They think they're going to perform a skit. But they end up finding out that that's not the case, and then they don't want to fight the grasshoppers, blah blah blah, so they're getting ready to leave, but then they feel bad for leaving. They end up having to save one of the I think it's Dot. They end up having to save Dot or something, and all the ants see him do it, and you know, start praising him and all kinds of shit, and they feel better about themselves. They're like, we'll stick around, blah blah blah, you know. They're getting free food and all kinds of crap. And then Flick comes up with this idea that he knows the grasshoppers they're scared of birds, so he's all like, why don't we make this fake bird and we'll freak him out and scare him off. And they're like, oh, okay, that sounds like a plan. So they all get around, they make this bird, and then like a couple of days before the grasshoppers show up, they all find out that it's actually, they're a bunch of circus bugs. The ants find out they're circus bugs. They're not real warriors. So they all basically turn on Flick and the other bugs. All the ants do. And send them away. Tell them never to come back. So they leave, and Dot follows them. And she convinces Flick to come back and help because the grasshoppers showed up and pretty much imprisoned everybody for the most part. And they're going to kill the queen. So she convinces him to come back. The circus bugs join him. They start performing for the grasshoppers while Flick and Dot and her little, they have like this mother's den, like Cub Scouts or whatever, Girl Scouts group called the Blueberries or some shit like that. I can't remember. Anyways, they join him and they go and climb the tree to where the bird's hidden at. They hop in the fake bird, and then they come out and surprise the grasshoppers, scare the crap out of them all. But it doesn't work. The circus bugs, they have a ringleader. He's like a little flea, and he fucks everything up for him because he's not in on it, and he didn't know about it. Anyways, the grasshoppers catch on, and they beat the shit out of Flick, and they're about to kill him. And then he says, it's not us that needs you, you need us, the ants. The grasshoppers need the ants. And he realizes that the main grasshopper, he knows that. And it freaks him out. And next thing you know, all the ants turn on the grasshoppers. And they start throwing shit at them and all kinds of other crap. And the bugs turn on it, help turn on them. And they cause the grasshoppers to flee. And, you know, it all ends well, that ends well, blah, blah, blah. The circus goes on, they go do their thing, and the ants live happily ever after. Blah, blah, blah. The end. It's a decent movie for a cartoon again. I already told you the main story is basically the Dirty Dozen. So it's a story that's been done 100 different times in movies. So of course it's naturally going to be a decent flick. I give it 2 thumbs up. Check it out. It's not bad for a cartoon. And that's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you could think of any underrated movies or B movies you think I've never even heard of, please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below, and I'll get to reviewing them as soon as I can. So until next time, I told you be told the truth, and you just been told.